I think we can probably begin. I wanted to just briefly introduce the seminar series and our speaker today. So this is a seminar that we began about 2 years ago, focusing on talks from our research on the evolutionary dynamics of religion, family size, and child success project, which has been funded by the John Templeton Foundation and the Templeton Religion Trust. We haven't had a talk for a little while because we were finishing collecting our cross-cultural data, and we haven't yet had a talk in our seminar that this has described our new data collection, and so this will be the first. So our speaker today is Radim Chvaja, who is at the University of Otago, although at the moment he is in the Czech Republic. And so I'll just turn it over to Radim now.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I'm very glad that I can open this seminar series this year with a presentation titled "Religious Signaling and Cooperation Among Mothers in the Gambia and the US." I would just say a few things prior to the presentation, because to those who are not familiar with the project and with what we are doing, there are three more sites in our project, except for Gambia. There is in the US. There is also Malawi, Bangladesh, and India. And this presentation is not the final study, so it's more like initial analysis and a pre-registration that aims to have some kind of balance between laying down the hypotheses and models before actually do them, but at the same time, because there is a lot of files in the data, a lot of variables that needed to be created, and also a lot of bugs and errors that we are fixing through the last months. So I knew that if I would just take all the model hypotheses and pre-register them without looking at the data, I would need to change them afterwards. So I just did the analysis on 2 sites and then register them for the rest of the sites, so that we have some kind of compromise between standard pre-registration and the complexity of the data. So let's go straight. Okay, so let's go to the presentation itself. So in my view, our species, like humans, we are strange in the way that we often believe in things that cannot be corroborated by empirical evidence, and often we consider it virtue that we believe in such things like gods, spirits, and powers with some supernatural characteristics. But what is even more important and puzzling for me is that we don't only believe in these gods and spirits, but we also do things for them. So we take part in rituals to communicate with them, to appease them, or just to do whatever they want us to do, or what we think that they want us to do. And we often invest a lot of energy, a lot of time, and even resources to these religious rituals. And it seems that compared to other behaviors that we are doing, like looking for reproductive partners, working, rearing offspring, these rituals seem to have no direct material function to us, so they don't provide, or seemingly they don't provide any benefits. And that's why it is puzzling why these behaviors or cultural institutions were not eliminated during our evolutionary history from our culture repertoire, but right the opposite. we are doing them like across history, across time, across cultures and geographical areas. We teach our kids how to do them. We are doing them across our individual lifespans. And as I said, we invest a lot of energy and resources to do these rituals. The question of why we're doing them as a human species is old as the social science itself, starting with names like Emil Durkheim and others who were theorizing about the potential functions to the social sphere of our species. But there is the recent theory, maybe 20 years old, called costly signaling theory of religion, based on the models from evolutionary biology and economics of costly signaling, that aims to explain the prevalence of religious rituals and cooperation together across time and cultures. So just say something about costly signaling theory in general, because this is where it all starts. So imagine that I will use the example from the economics because it's easy to understand, and it's called a job market signaling. And imagine that there are people who it explains how people advertise themselves on a job market. So imagine that there are people who have the good working habits. They want to work on themselves, and there are people who don't want to work on themselves, like couch potatoes people. And there are employers on the market who want to have the best employees for them, and the quality of being couch potato or a potentially good employee is kind of unobservable. It's hidden to the employers, but there is a way for them to actually estimate the quality of the employees, because there is the process of education, which takes time, which takes everything, and those who are who have the working habits and want to work on themselves, for those people it's much easier, much less costly to actually go through the process of education to the university and graduate. But for people who don't work, it's much more costly. And that's how the unobserved quality of being a good employee could be signaled to employers through the education. But what about the religion? What about costly signaling theory of religion? The hidden, unobserved quality here is considered to be an overall cooperative commitment and commitment to the system of beliefs and norms and sacred norms and values that manage our behavior toward others. And of course, there's variation in how how cooperative, how committed to the system we are. And because the system provides the norms and also the potential punishments, so the more we believe in the system, the more cooperative within the group we should be. And also the more we should perceive, the less costly we should perceive the rituals that are also part of the system. So for example, for me, as for an atheist who grew in a non-religious family, it seemed like wasteful to go every weekend to the church. But for my friend who grew up in a religious family, he doesn't think it's a waste of time. And that's the reason why religious rituals can actually signal something to others. So there is first the hidden quality of being committed to the group. that could be signaled by taking part in rituals of that group. And then there are other people, some kind of receivers of the signal, who then behave, or they read and interpret the signals, and then they behave accordingly. So they should, yeah. So the basic predictions from this model, but don't consider it like a formal model or something. It's just to have something behind the talk. So the first basic prediction of this costly signaling theory is that the hidden quality of cooperative commitment should be positively associated with costly signaling, with publicly expressed religiosity in this case. And the second is that then other people who are the receivers of the signal should behave in accord with the signaling. So they should help more. They should more cooperate with the signalers. So here the evidence from the observational studies for the first link, for the first prediction, for example, here from Brazil, from Candomblé community, shows that people who are signaling more, who are scoring higher on the created score for costly signaling in that community, were more cooperative in public goods game with others from the community. And there is also the same paper also documents the evidence for the second link, showing that these people who are more signaling reported having more help from others in the past year. And there are more studies on that link showing that yeah, in these studies, the researchers are asking people from one community to list all people who are generous or to whom they would go for help in case of hardship. And then these studies show that the more people attend rituals during the year in the community, the more likely they are to be listed by others as generous, or that people would go to them for help more likely. Of course, there's more evidence. There are more predictions from the theory. I'm just talking about these because my study is based in a similar context. So it seems that there is good evidence for the theory, for the theoretical links, but there are still gaps that should be and could be filled with the data that we have in our project. So basically, it's kind of paradox, but we don't have data from a weird society. So society that is Western, educated, industrialized, democratic, and rich. And in our project, we have data from the Pittsburgh, from the USA, which meet this criteria. So that's one thing. The second is that we have data for 5 sites, which makes our results generalizable over the cultures and geography. Of course, not in general, but at least more than the studies that I was discussing. Finally, and this is the biggest issue with the current literature, is that these studies that I mentioned. I don't know if you see my cursor. Yeah. AC, can you? Okay. So these studies are great because they have data on the whole social network of the whole community, which we don't have. But on the other hand, we have the data on actual cooperation. This is only hypothetical because they are asking to list people to whom the participants would go for help. But it's not the same as the actual cooperation, which we have in our data set. Okay, so the current study utilizes data from 5 sites, although I will only report data from Pittsburgh and the Gambia. In Pittsburgh, it's a highly market integrated society, developed society with Christianity as the main religion. In Gambia, West Kiang, there are data from 22 villages, more or less closer to the central payload, and it's a highly rural society with the Islam as the main religion. In this study, we only utilize data from mothers, especially because the project is sponsored with mothers, but also because, in my view, mothers are highly dependent on the help from others. So if there are any effects in the real world, it will be much easier to estimate them with the mothers because they need the help much more than men. The predictions that I was talking about will be analyzed on 2 levels of analysis. So the first one predicts that the hidden quality here, cooperative commitment, should be associated with expressed religiosity. And this is analyzed on the level of mothers. So it means that the mother, the individual mother, is the unit of observation here. In Gambia, there is around 700 mothers, and in the US so far it's 400. I need to drop some 100 mothers because these are unaffiliated, and unaffiliated mothers were not asked any questions on religiosity. So they must be either scored as zeros, which would be not true, and also statistically make no sense to have a group with no variation. So I just dropped them. And then each mother was asked a lot of questions about their supportive networks. I'm not calling it social networks because it could be confounded with the works that I was talking about a few minutes ago, because we don't have the actual social network of mothers. We just have people to whom the mothers help and who help the mothers. And that's why the second prediction, that the public religiosity will be associated with more help received, will be analyzed on the level of these supportive networks, which are, of course, they have much higher sample sizes than the mother level. And the specific prediction here is that the probability and then the intensity of help provided by members of these supportive networks will be in positive relation to the publicly expressed religiosity of mothers. The first variable, the most important, is public religiosity, measured on the level of mothers, of course. It's ethnographically sensitive, so it means that I created different scores for different sites, but it's unified by the method. So I just first I just dropped all the questions on religiosity that didn't ask on behavior, but only that were like, what do you think? Do you believe? Do you agree that people should do something? And questions like that. And then I calculated the internal reliability. Then I dropped the items that decreased the reliability, and then I did alternative way factor analysis with the mixed correlation tables, and compared the resulting scales. And then I decided based on the density of the resulting scale, and also I compared mothers who were reporting that they have some religious leadership position in the community, and it's expected that they should be, of course, more religious. And based on these criteria, I just took the best option for each site. You can see that in the case of Gambia, the scale is kind of poor on its internal reliability, the alpha is low, is the best I could do. Normally, when the alpha is low, we can just use one of the variables as a proxy for, for or just to use one of the variables. But here it's not possible because the individual variables in the Gambia have low variation. So this is the best option. The other sites have higher alphas. Then there is the help provided by mothers to their social network members. So basically, for each mother, we asked, or for each for each member from the supportive network, we asked mothers whether they helped them. And then I just calculated the number of people to whom the mothers helped in the past year in the domains of financial help, work help, meaning help around the house, for example, help in sickness, gifting food, taking care of children under 5 years, and emotional support. And then the same was done, but in the opposite direction. So how other people help mothers. And here we don't only have the information on whether they helped, but also to what extent. So for financial help, we have information about how much money they actually gifted or loaned to mothers and how often they did it. And for the rest of the variables, we have the frequencies of how often they provided that kind of help. I dropped all parenting from this because it's another level of analysis, the level of children, and it would be too much complex, and we are doing this in another paper, so it's not here. And then I have a lot of control variables on the level of mothers, such as age, number of children, socioeconomic status, and on the level of supportive network, like gender, kin status, occupational status, and also probability that the mother would ask for help, that person, because if mothers would not ask them, then it's not expected that they even know that they need help or something like that. And then, of course, I controlled for reciprocity. Basically, when I was asking here whether religiosity predicts the help provided by mothers to others, I controlled by this. And when I was asking whether others help mothers, I was controlling by help provided by mothers. So the results should go beyond the reciprocity. With these control variables, I created DAC models to actually simulate the causal relationships between all the variables in the model to see whether they are necessary to be adjusted. With prediction one, there is no need to do this DAC because the theory itself doesn't predict the causal relationship between public religiosity and help provided by mothers, but by theory, by definition, there is an unobserved quality being committed that should affect both public religiosity and help provided. So here I'm not doing this simulation, but I'm just adjusting the model for all the variables to have the clear estimate. And in the prediction two, there is expected a causal relationship, meaning that the more mothers express their religiosity, the more probability should be there that others will help them. So what I did is that I simulated the relationships from this picture 5,000 times, and then I did the analysis on these data. And this picture shows the densities of effects while controlling for the variables listed here. So for example, here, is the effect of public religiosity when only public religiosity is a predictor in a model. And here you can see how it changes when you add other variables to the model, and it ends here when the model is full on the predefined effect of beta equals 0.5. And you can see from the picture that all the variables are important because all change the effect of public religiosity. Here is the same, but just reported with AIC scores, which it's not necessary to talk about right now, but it just documents that we actually need all the variables in the model to estimate, to be close to the causal relationship. Yeah, here, one more thing, the way I was working with random effects in the models that I created, because I wasn't sure how to adjust for random effects by theory. So I decided that I will just do all options that are possible. So for example, here in the Gambia prediction 1, the one possibility was to have random effects as a village, and then was the possibility to have random slopes of public religiosity in the village. So I decided for this, and then I just wrote an algorithm that picks the most parsimonious model based on the AIC scores. And I will report only those models that are the most parsimonious. So we can go to the results. The results of prediction 1. Just remind that prediction 1 predicts that mothers who signal more, who score higher in public religiosity, should help more people or should be more cooperative. So here, this is a tree plot of the effects of different models. So it's not from one model, it's from different models that are controlled for all the variables that I was showing in the previous slide. So you can see that the red is Gambia, the blue is for the US. You can see there is a positive effect in the Gambia for work help, sick help, financial help, and all mothering care. Non-significant positive effect for food help, and there's no effect for emotional help, emotional support. And in the US, it seems that there are no effects of public religiosity except for sick help, which is not significant, but I think we can trust this result, showing that there is a negative relationship between public religiosity and sick help. Here, the same results are plotted in a different way using marginal effects. So these are just the same results. You can see the positive relationships in the Gambia and no effects in the US. Here we can go to prediction 2, which was that the members of the supportive networks should help more to mothers who score higher on the public religiosity. And I did it in 2 steps. So first, I analyzed the probability with the logistic models, so that I predicted that the probability of help that the supportive network member will provide help to the mother will increase as the public religiosity increases. And then I took only those who helped at least once, and I analyzed the intensity of help in step 2. So here in step 1, you can see that there is in the Gambia, there is positive effect on food help, but there are negative effects going against our predictions on financial help, probability of financial help, and emotional support. And in the US, there's only one effect in the case of financial help, and it's positive. There is no analysis of food help in the US because there was only a few cases of food help in the US, which is expectable. Again, the same models are plotted using marginal effects. So you can see that the negative effects of public religiosity on emotions, on probability of emotional support and financial help are pretty big, going in emotional support through 20%, which is, I think, a lot. And in the case of food help, probability of food help, you can see that the effect of religiosity is basically driven by the most extreme values on public religiosity. And then the last models from prediction 2, step 2. So it means that here I have only people from the supportive networks who helped at least once, and I'm analyzing the association of public religiosity and the intensity of help. So with financial help, the first model is analyzing the amount of money provided to the mothers. In the US, it's dollars, US dollars. In Gambia, it's Gambian dalasi. And it's analyzed using linear model. And it seems that there is no significant effect of public religiosity. And other models, to analyze the other types of help, I'm using cumulative link models because these variables are actually ordinal because there are frequencies. So we were asking how often this person provided you this kind of help, and there was like few times, more times, etc. So what you can see is that there is again no effect of public religiosity on financial help frequency, but there are positive effects on work help frequency and sick help frequency in the Gambia, but nothing in the US. And here, there is another point here. It's because yesterday I was one of the commentators on the paper just point me that there is a mistake in the data, and I didn't make it to incorporate it in the final presentation. So this the emotional support is actually somewhere here, not here, but it doesn't change anything because it's highly non-significant. Yeah. So again, the same results, but plotted in different way. This is the linear model here showing the association of public religiosity with the amount of money that others provided to mothers, and the other pictures plot the cumulative link estimates. So basically what the cumulative link models are doing is that they estimate the probability of the predictor, the association of the predictor with the probability of each of these options. So for example, here is the positive relationship because in here it's the probability decreases as the religiosity increases, and then with option 5, so it's the most frequent help, religiosity actually increases the probability of the last option. So together it provides a significant positive result, and there's no one in the US. So the most striking thing in this study is that the results are not clean at all, especially when we compare them to the results provided by the previous studies by Eddie Power and Ruth Mace and her students. which often have nice big effects of religious rituals on cooperation. And there are two possible explanations. The first that I think it's true is that it's because we just have more nuanced measure of cooperation, and that we have the actual measure, the measure of actual cooperation, but they just only ask about, as I said, to list people to whom the participants would go for help, which is not the actual cooperation. Or it could be just because we have different sites, which could be because we have in our data, we have data from the India, and Radim Chvaja did her work in Indian communities. Once we will have results from all sites, we will be able to compare the Indian results from our data, the results from these studies, and then we will be able to say, we will be more certain about the interpretation. Also, it seems that it only works in the Gambia. The costly signaling works in the Gambia, and only for those who already helped at least once, and only for certain forms of help. Don't ask me why the certain types of helps are working and others not. I was thinking about, but I don't have any explanation for that. And another thing is that in the US, we failed to support prediction 1 and prediction 2, which maybe signalizes that the signaling system in the US is broken, because the cooperative commitment actually doesn't correlate with the publicly expressed religiosity, which maybe means that publicly expressed religiosity in the US is not a signal of commitment. So then it's more expectable that it will not be read as signal by others. But it's just a speculation based on two sites. Maybe with analysis of other sites, we can actually see whether the fail to support prediction 1 and prediction 2 co-occur together. And this, in my view, forms the main implication for the costly signaling theory of religion, and that is that we maybe should pay more attention to the whole signaling system rather than to study individual links, like, for example, does rituals increase trustworthiness of those who are doing them, or do people who are doing rituals more cooperate with others, etc., etc. But to pay attention to the whole system. So all the links must work together for costly signaling to work. And then, of course, we can ask why it works in the Gambia but not in the US. And I think it's because of the decreasing role of the religion in the US in the last decade. But of course, it's just speculation here. And our study also had a limitation, which I will just discuss now. So the most important thing is that we don't have the full social network. We just have some networks of people who mothers listed that they help them and that the mothers helped the people. So this is kind of limit, because it could bias the results, especially the results of the step 1 analysis of prediction 2, because mothers can vary in how they interpret the criteria to include the helpers or the people to their supportive network. And then it means that if there is a lot of people in the supportive network who shouldn't be there for some reason, so it increases, it decreases the probability providing help, because the probability is calculated from the bigger group. And we know about some systematic variation in how the social network is constructed and what we know about social networks. So for example, in the Gambia, we know that there are non-living people in the supportive network, which is weird, but this is how it is. And it's around 4.5% of the sample, but we only know it for 66% of the sample, because this question was included during the data collection, because when it wasn't there, participants were just telling the data collectors that, oh, but this person is not alive, and the interviewers didn't know what to do with it. So we included this question, but we don't know whether the people are alive for 66% of the sample. So that can actually decrease the probability of providing help for those who, for older women in the sample, because they have more non-living people in their supportive network. And then we don't know the age of all members of the supportive networks. We can calculate age for close kin, like for kids of the mothers, but we cannot. We don't know for example, like nephew's son or something like that. So, and there are young kids in that supportive networks, and we should not expect them to help because they are too young. So again, this can bias the results, and overall this lends more solidity to the step 2 analyses, because they only work with those who helped at least once, which means that they were first live, and then they were old enough to to be able to provide that kind of help. Yeah, so that's basically everything from my presentation, and I'm happy to discuss more limits and the study itself. So thank you very much.